Not everyone should meditate. And the reason why that is because there is a dark side to meditation that a lot of people never talk about. You only talk about the positive things in meditation, like the peace that you feel, right? The clear thinking, right? It allows you to feel more empathy for people and connect with reality at a deeper level. And that's all fine and rainbows. But the problem is that when you first practice meditation, you're going to experience positive effects, especially superficial meditation, where you're not deeply concentrating. The problem is that some people have are predisposed to psychosis, are predisposed to hallucinations and mental illnesses that causes them to disconnect from reality. And that's the issue, is that the deep concentration that some meditations allow you to achieve can cause you to concentrate so deeply that you lose touch with reality. In fact, a lot of people who end up becoming enlightened, a lot of enlightened beings become more autistic than anything else. In other words, social interactions become a little bit more difficult. The reason why is because of isolation, right? Isolation, even if you're meditating, has a negative effect on the mind. Where if you are somebody who has any form of mental illness, isolation aggravates it. Even if you're isolated meditating, if you have schizophrenia and you go into a deep state of meditation, you do not want to do that. That you're asking for deeper for more psychosis, pretty much. Right. I went to meditation retreats, and I've been to meditation retreats, and I've seen people have psychotic episodes and they have to leave because they never disclosed that they have history of psychosis. It's almost like meditation is almost like the same risks you experience if you take psychedelics. If you have family members that have a history of having any form of psychosis and you give them psychedelics, they may experience a break from reality. And this is why. I remember the first meditation retreat I did. When I left the retreat, I felt weird. For example, we do body scans, right? We do body scan meditations. And one of the things about body scans is that you do it so often in the meditation that when you leave the meditation, you actually keep scanning automatically by mistake. Like you kind of like scan the body without you noticing because you did it so much. Like it's almost like when you spin a wheel and you stop spinning it, it'll keep spinning. You still have the momentum of the retreat. And I remember it feeling uncomfortable because I couldn't control it. Like it felt like I had another limb. It's almost like if you wake up and you're a man and you wake up in the body of a woman, right? You kind of freak out because you're like, this is not me. What is going on? And you look in the mirror and you see a woman. You're like, what the hell is going on? It's kind of like this where you lose yourself because of the meditation. You start to identify with your higher self, with your spirit, that to your brain, especially a brain that has a problem with reality, it'll freak out if it senses that you're not identifying with the ego anymore. It kind of freaks out. I remember when I got out of the meditation, like, first of all, I did, when I looked at myself, I was like, oh my God, I don't see myself like I used to before. And I didn't see myself as Delexis. I didn't see myself as somebody who was the person who I first initially went. In the first few days, you kind of like are weirded out and kind of panicky about it. And you kind of like, what the hell is going on? But over time, it goes away, right? Some people, it doesn't go away. Some people panic at that thought. They panic at the sense of not sensing their ego. They panic at that. And what happens is that you just get divorced from reality. Another thing is that you're observing reality with so much intensity that it disconnects you from reality, almost like has like a bounce back effect, right? Where you're looking at reality so deeply that seeing the true nature of reality breaks somebody's ego to a point where it breaks too fast, too quickly. It's almost like getting into a stretch too quickly. If you get into the stretch too quickly, it might break a few ligaments and muscles, as opposed to getting into the stretch slowly which prevents some tear of muscles and ligaments, right? It's kind of similar to that, where they get in such a deep state of meditation that their brains just cannot handle. They don't have the RAM to handle the heaviness of reality. And it's too much. And also, some people are so identified with their egos that when they don't sense their ego, or they sense the diminishment of the ego, they panic. It's almost like when you're used to looking at this direction and you see somebody all the time, right? For example, now you're looking in this direction, now there's nobody there. And and the sensation of like, oh my God, that's not there no more. Like the initial, oh my God, I don't see my ego no more, can create a panic in your psyche that you just would become very difficult to recover from for some people. In other words, you sort of dissociate. Even though the goal of meditation is to create a mind-body connection, sometimes some people don't have the hardware to connect it. Like literally, they're missing some parts of their brain, right? And this causes them to detach from reality or themselves, and they call it disassociation. And another thing that tends to happen is that people experience emotional instability a lot, where they feel panic attacks, fear, trauma, flashbacks sometimes. In meditation retreats, some people have so much trauma that they re-experience the trauma. So if you have some like unbelievable, out of this world trauma, if you go to the meditation retreat, what you'll notice is that some people might just start screaming, and the fear and the trauma is relived with such intensity, because when you meditate, your imagination becomes more intense, because you're feeling this. For example, when you do a body scan meditation, you're feeling the body, but there's a certain level of imagination in that sensation. So meditation also strengthens your visualization, but also what happens is that if you recall a traumatic event and it's too much for you to handle, it could break you down even in the meditation retreat, or you might wake up in the middle of the night screaming. A normal reaction would be crying, right? Sober, that's fine. But when it's so intense that you feel fear and anxiety, a desire to run or aggression, it's getting negative. It's getting dark. It's getting dark, people, right? They experience psychosis. They experience post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of it, some people. I remember one person started getting aggressive in the meditation retreat, right? A lot of people experience heightened depression, heightened anxiety. And if people are on those types of medications, I highly recommend to reduce the intensity of the meditation. Right? In other words, you have different forms of meditations when you go to retreats. You have Anapana, Vipassana, right? And what I would recommend is to stay in shallow Anapana, meaning shallow. Don't go deep into the concentration. Just keep your concentration very light. In other words, what you could do is move around sometimes when you meditate, right? Move around, because not moving increases the concentration. Move around, open your eyes, look around, and keep your eye, and then go back to your eyes, or even think a little bit, consciously think, or even like when you do the meditation, just open up your eyes, move a little bit, move around, get in touch with reality. Don't lose your focus. I mean, don't get too focused, right? And take more breaks and longer breaks. And usually, if you're meditating and you feel a little bit of anxiety, back off. Like, get up, do something else, and do something that's like distracting, and then go back. Because if meditation causes anxiety, I don't recommend you pushing through it. It's much better to just stop and practice lighter forms of meditation. Maybe looking at a tree, right? Or maybe listening to music. But some people there are certain thresholds that some people should never reach or enter, because it could be the end of your connection with reality. By the way, if you want to learn how to do these types of meditations, go to a meditation retreat. You could go to dharma.org, and there you guys will be able to learn how to attend those retreats. They're free, but they're donation based, but they're technically free. And yeah, man. If I also do have a course called Emotional Mastery, right? And in this course, I teach you not Vipassana, but it's another form of meditation, and it's not as deep as Vipassana. So you could sort of apply these meditations without like going too deep into it. But if you do experience some anxiety, it's better to tone it down. Okay, so you can purchase that course, Emotional Mastery, by clicking on the description down below. It's actually a live course that I taught in real life. So it's like you'll see me teaching other people. And it's a 5-6 week course. Okay, so click in the description down below, or else I'm closing the channel. See you later.